Hello, good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Ecofriendly. We're on DTT because we're free to air. Coming up this morning, owners of motorcycles and vehicles face a new financial burden as the Emissions Levy Act 2023 takes effect today. Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana declares a nationwide indefinite strike over what the union describes as government's lackadaisical attitude in addressing the concerns of workers.
And principal secretaries
coming to take our certificate, and we were told that they are on strike. So right now we are so frustrated and then we don't know what to do.
Also growing fears that Ghana could be losing an estimated amount of 160 million United States dollars owing to a new export regulation introduced by the United Kingdom, which takes effect today. Meanwhile, the UK's Institute of Export and International Trade says Ghanaian businesses stand to gain bigger opportunities once they produce to meet the new standards.
Ghana has the potential, with what the UK is doing with its target operating model, to achieve the standards of production and get their products into market better, quicker, and grow the potential.
We have details plus business coming up shortly. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. To stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. Starting today, owners of motorcycles and vehicles face a new financial burden as Emissions Levy Act 2023, Act 1112, takes effect, requiring an annual payment of at least 75 cedis for carbon dioxide equivalent emissions on internal combustion engine vehicles. The Ghana Revenue Authority issued a notice stating that the levy is part of government's commitment to addressing greenhouse gas emissions and promote eco-friendly technology. My colleague Richard Kwejonyako joins me in the studio with details of that notice from the GRA. Kwejonyako, do we know why government is introducing this levy?
Yes, Aisha, the government is introducing the emissions levy as part of effort to address greenhouse gas emissions and promote the use of eco-friendly technology and green energy. So this initiative aims to encourage the public to shift towards more environmentally friendly vehicles. So in line with this, government announced in the 2024 budget that import taxes on electric vehicles have been waived, further incentivizing the adoption of greener transportation options.
How much are vehicle owners expected to pay?
Well, so there are 4 separate categories of vehicles, and with each there is a different specified amount they are expected to pay. So for motorcycles, tricycles are expected to pay 75 Ghana cedis per annum. Motor vehicles, buses and coaches up to 3,000 cubic centimeters will pay 150 Ghana cedis per annum. Motor vehicles, buses and coaches about 3,000 cubic centimeters will pay 300 Ghana cedis per annum, and cargo trucks and articulated trucks are expected to pay 300 Ghana cedis per year. The statement continues that under the Act, the DVLA and other testing centers should only issue a road use certificate after drivers have shown evidence of paying the levy. However, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union is unhappy with the decision by government, and so they are already threatening to pass on the cost to their passengers.
Kwejonyako, with those details from the GRA, I've been joined by a tax consultant, Francis Timoboy, for a conversation on this. Grateful for your time, sir. Just as Ghanaians struggle to come to terms with already choking taxes, we've been hit by yet another one. This time, it is to address greenhouse gas emissions and promote the use of eco-friendly technology and green energy. Justified?
No, Aisha, I have a different view. I think that it is more of a revenue measure than the environmental objective. Why am I saying that? Environmental tax or carbon tax is supposed to discourage or have a direct effect on behavior. So if you say that you want people to shy away from fossil fuel, that's petrol, diesel cars, then they should shift to an alternative. The question is, the alternative that we are being offered here is electric vehicles. Is it within our reach? The answer is complete no. I mean, the minimum electric vehicle you can have is around $26,000, even in the advanced countries. You ask yourself, how many people in Ghana can even afford that car? Secondly, if you want me to shift behavior, the amount that I'm paying should be so much enough such that I have to take that decision. Otherwise, I'm losing. We don't even have the infrastructure in Ghana to even maintain the cars. Take Accra, where we may have 2 or 3 charging systems. Has the government done anything to, allow me, if I bring my electric vehicle into Ghana, to have a charging system? What are the measures available for me if battery systems start running or giving me trouble? So clearly, 75 cedis cannot allow me to change and go and buy a $26,000 vehicle. That is not possible. So clearly, it's a way of raising revenue because globally, everybody is talking about climate change, and therefore government thinks that one of the ways that we can, not avoid tax is through the transport sector, and that's why this tax is coming. We have seen this before when we introduced the luxury vehicle tax. We were told that those with a higher engine capacity were going to pay. Within 6 months down the line, the tax was withdrawn. So it's more of a revenue measure than the environment.
More and more taxes on the people and the country largely.
I think I missed you a bit, if you can take it again.
I'm saying that what are the implications of taxing the people over and over again until they choked?
Actually, I think that, before we went to the IMF, the Minister of Finance made it clear that any agreement you go with these multinational, funding agencies, it comes with a lot of costs. So government is, under obligation to raise our parent tax to GDP ratio from 13% to around 18 to 20%. So there's that huge obligation on government. So government will continue to look for avenues to raise money. And the only people who are available to pay are the citizens. So we'll continue to bear it until maybe we go back to the IMF to renegotiate. The people are complaining. Yes, it's true. Look at the various taxes that we have had in 2023. Businesses are crying, but it looks like until we have been able to renegotiate some of the tax measures, soon the VAT on electricity consumption in the households are even going to come. So the burden is clear. We have to be under these austerity measures, and we have nothing to do. And clearly, government will continue to, raise revenue.
Are there no other ways aside from taxing and taxing and taxing the people?
There are, and over the years, we've had challenges with expanding the tax net. The objective was to bring other people who are not currently in the taxing space. Of course, over the years, it's been very, very difficult. And so most of the policies we are seeing come in the form of indirect taxes. We've ignored most of the direct taxes. Property tax, we've said it several times, is not been doing well. We have other non-tax revenue that the government is not pursuing. So the informal sector clearly is cut off from the direct tax system. We focus more on the indirect taxes. And so we continue to see, unless you don't buy anything, you're going to pay the indirect taxes. We just have to sit down and rebalance our tax system. The problem is going to take a bit longer. And here's the case we've put ourselves under this IMF conditionality. And for them, if you don't meet the minimum threshold of 15% tax to GDP ratio, they think you are not doing well. And that indeed, their measure is that if you meet 15% of your tax to GDP ratio, then that is where you can say you are on a path of development. So they will continue to push us until we do more. Since it is more of a long term, if we are looking at the other tax measures, government will continue to look at the indirect taxes, which are more, we can say, low-hanging fruits to pick. In this particular case, unless you don't own a vehicle, you will have to pay. But I think that it's not going to achieve its purpose because it's unlikely to change the behavior of people. Look, for example, you say I should pay 75 or even 150 cedis a year. Is that going to make me reduce the distance I travel? I was even thinking that it should even be placed on the fuel, the price, because the more you drive, the more you are polluting the environment. And that also raises questions because people are saying that we have already taxed the 10 pesos, sanitation and pollution levy on fuel prices, which was introduced in 2021. So people are thinking that if you do that again, then you are double taxing them. So we just have to look for other ways. Otherwise, these are unavoidable.
Sad, isn't it? I mean, what should we do? Because again, salaries are not being increased, yet the ordinary Ghanaian has no choice than to deal with this.
True. And we've called for a renegotiation of some of the taxes. Indeed, if you look at the IMF policy, their document, they are saying that the policy should be medium to long term. My only problem is that we've packed a lot of them in the short term, from 2023 down to 2024. Indirect tax rates have been increased and new ones have been introduced. And so it makes the ordinary person, suffer or choke. And if you are not careful when we go back to implement the VAT on electricity, it's going to compound the issues the more. So maybe let's slow down a little bit on the indirect taxes. If, as a part of the condition, we can tell them that, look, we want to increase our tax to GDP ratio to this level, but we have to do it gradually, then we do so. Again, we have to look at the other areas where we can, raise revenue instead of the taxes. We get to a point where the taxes introduced are no more economically viable because tax policy is supposed to ginger the economic growth. If at the end of the day, the businessmen are saying they are collapsing, then you need to take a pause and look at its effect. We need to reassess the impact of those that we have introduced and rather go for the other units that we have not been able to deal with. Yes, I agree it's going to be the long term, but that is the only sustainable way.
Francis Timoboy, I'm grateful for your time. He's a tax expert trying to explain how government can get revenue aside of just taxing Ghanaians. However, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union is unhappy with the decision by the government. The union was forced weeks ago to suspend plans to increase transport fares over the increasing cost of spare parts and fuel. They are already threatening to pass on the cost to their passengers. Abbas Umuro speaks for the GPRTU. He's joined me with more. Mr. Abbas Umuro, thanks for your time this morning. So what are your plans as the emission levy kicks in today? The usual shifting of costs on the passengers, I guess. It does look like we've lost Abbas Umuro there. Let's try and get him back. If we have Abbas Umuro on, I want to find out from you, Abbas, what the plan is. Are you going to be shifting the cost on passengers as you usually do? Right, let's try and get Abbas Umuro back. He speaks for the GPRTU to tell us more on this. But we've also been gauging the mood of Ghanaians on this. We'll be getting that view from the streets of Accra. So let's get Abbas Umuro. Do we have Abbas Umuro back? Hello, Abbas Umuro. Can you hear me? Yes. So I want to find out from you your plans as the emission levy kicks in today. Is it the usual shifting of cost on passengers? Is that the plan?
Well, it is going to be a little slow because we are actually disappointed to see the implementation today. Because we've spoken about it, that it's going to be 2 taxes on a particular item. And we believe the message has gone down well that those in authority will do something about it. But lo and behold, it has come, and we have nothing much more to do than to add it to whatever problems we already have and make sure we add it up to the new law that will come out.
Abbas, you recently were invited by the Transport Ministry for a meeting regarding the increase in transport fares. What was the outcome of that meeting, and did this emission levy come up?
Yes, fortunately for us, government took that meeting seriously. We met with the finance minister and the transport minister as well. This particular issue was put to the finance minister who accepted to do something about it. He said he would take it up and see, because we drew his attention on 2 taxes on a particular issue. Because we said we are already paying 10 pesos on a liter of fuel we buy in the name of sanitation and pollution. It's just unfortunate the same pollution's name has been changed and slap us with the same issue again. We explained to him and he said, oh, if that is the issue, then of course he would look at what to do. He can't join. He will look at what to do about it. So if nothing has been done, and today the implementation has taken place, we won't say much than to add it to our new law affairs that we are working on.
And how soon are we expecting this? I understand that you will take it slowly, but I mean...
God willing, next week we'll hit the press again. God willing, next week we'll hit the press.
I understand you are supposed to have another meeting with the transport minister, correct?
Yes.
When is that?
Because at the meeting, the transport minister also requests from us to do something. That is, we should put our grievances while we are changing the law affairs from what it is today to an upward adjustment, the current one that we are adding up. We should document it, address it to him to make sure he also addresses it, of which we also accepted, because we knew very well that what is requesting within landers are within the 20% that we are asking for. Here we are very fortunate this eco-levy has also come to existence, because when we came up with the 20%, we did make mention that this excludes the eco-tax and the new VAT. So if the eco-tax has come into existence, yes, of course, we'll add it up, because we are into business. Nobody will buy something 1 city. No businessman or woman will buy something 1 city and sell it at 80 pesos. So we'll add it up and share that burden with the citizenry.
We'll see how that goes. Abbas Moro, spokesperson for GPRTU, he says there's another meeting they have with their transport ministry, and that will inform their decision. Next week, they'll be coming out with new transport fares. This is something we'll be monitoring and bring you all you need to know. Now, let's get to other stories. The Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana has declared a nationwide indefinite strike over what the union describes as the government's lackadaisical attitude in addressing the concerns of workers. The union cites the failure of the government to pay Tier 2 pension allowances to fund managers, extra duty allowances, and car maintenance allowances for junior staff, among others, for the industrial action. It follows an emergency National Executive Committee meeting held on Wednesday at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. It comes also as the Teachers and Education Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress, the Senior Staff Association, and the Ghana Association of University Administrators lay down their tools over improved working conditions. My colleague Ohim Interior has more.
The Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana boasts of over 10,000 members in all the public universities nationwide. Members include cleaners, drivers, security personnel, and administrative secretaries, among others on the various campuses. The union accused government of failing to honor its obligations to pay extra duty allowance, car maintenance allowance due members, and pension funds to fund managers. A one-week ultimatum to government to act on the concerns of the union expired last week. National President Suleimana Abdulrahman, who addressed charged members at KNUST, says the workers are fed up with what he described as the lackadaisical attitude of government towards their concerns.
They would demand, or therefore demand, that Payment of the Tier 2 pension funds by government to the fund managers immediately. 2. TEU further demands payment of vehicle maintenance allowance to deserving staff, to TEU members in the public universities without discrimination. 3. TEU also demands the payment of extra duty allowance through overtime to the affected members in some of the public universities. National Executive Council NEC of TEU held an emergency meeting this morning today, 31st January 2024, concerning the issues tabled above in the said meeting. NEC has resolved that following the lackadaisical nature of the employer, which is the government, resolved that the Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana is hereby declare an indefinite strike action. And the strike takes effect from 1st February.
The union says there will be repercussions for members who defy orders of the national executives to join the industrial action. Meanwhile, the union says members who provide essential services, such as members of the University Security Corps and principal secretaries, including those at the Vice-Chancellor's offices, are initially exempted from the strike. Mr. Suleimana, however, explained.
We are not actually withdrawing everybody, because if we are withdrawing everybody, the security staff, everybody will have to go along with. But if government is failing to listen to us, at the end of the day, we have no option than to withdraw the whole security in the public universities. And I can tell you, if that happens, what will happen? The public universities will have to be locked down, but we don't want to get there. But of course, as I said, if we are pushed to a wall where we need to withdraw every services, that will be done. It's the security and the secretaries to the principal officers. We expect that they will assist the principal officers, I'm talking of the vice chancellors, the registrars, finance directors, to work with governments to make sure that they spearhead our issues to get it resolved.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Ohimanteria reporting.
At the University of Cape Coast, a strike by the Senior Staff Association continues to bite hard. Some of the affected students have been speaking to JoyNews.
It's Bafo Esther. I'm from Sunyane. Some of my colleagues are from Wa, Cape Coast, Accra. Please, we have been here since yesterday. We are here to collect our certificate, but there is no one to assist us over here. So we are pleading with the government to give them whatever that they need so that we can get our certificate.
My name is Barry Issa Mohamed. I'm from Fafraha, a distant student of UCC. Actually, I came to take my certificate today, my degree certificate today. But then when we came to campus, everything seems to work fine because from the onset, they did everything perfectly fine. No one told us something was going on. So after we cleared ourselves and then we did everything necessary we are supposed to do, coming to take our certificate and then we were told that they are on strike. So right now, we are so frustrated and then we don't know what to do. Information reaching me is that some people were even here since yesterday. They had to sleep on campus just to make sure something would happen today. But unfortunately for all of us, nothing has happened. And then right now as we speak, we are stranded and then we don't know what. Some of us are actually coming from work. Some of us from Accra, like I already mentioned. And then some of us are working and then they have to take permission from their bosses just to come here. But then coming to see this situation is very frustrating.
We woke up one morning to a news of strike by the senior staff and TEU of the various institutions, which UCC itself was affected. Our students, as we are affected by this great strike, when it comes to the university hospital, which serves not just the student's body, but the whole total, the community within UCC. Unfortunately, the hospital also had to be closed down at certain periods so that the strike action that has been taken by national would actually suffice. It's had a toll on students since these medical issues, day in, day out, calls keep coming to us as student leaders about students that want to visit the place to be checked up for various medical problems. unfortunately, the hospital is not in a place to look after these people, and these people have to go to the teaching hospital, which is quite a distance from the university. Again, the strike of TEU has also affected us very much, as our various lecture rooms, our various halls and environments have not been catered to with respect to its cleanliness, and students have to mask themselves up, spearheaded by the various student leaders, that is GRASAG and SRC, and the various heads of halls, to make sure that these environments are clean for students. And as we know, this is an academic environment, and cleanliness is very important to students. We plead, on behalf of the entire students' body, we plead to government and the stakeholders involved to make sure that the plea of both the Senior Staff Association and TEU are met to ease the life of students all over campus across the country.
There are growing concerns that Ghana could be losing an estimated amount of $160 million owing to a new export regulation introduced by the UK. Through its new border target operation model, all animal and plant products being moved to the UK will now require export health certificates effective January 31, 2024. Ghana's main export to the UK, which includes processed fish, cocoa beans, and fruits, fall primarily under this new categories required certification, raising fears of a severe impact on Ghanaian businesses. Head of Diplomatic and Foreign Affairs Desk at JoyNews, Blaise Sogan, will be joining us with more. But first, listen to the UK's Institute of Technology talking about this.
But it's a challenging environment globally. If you look at the WTO statistics, global trade is going to slow down over the coming years. So the world is in a difficult place at the moment, and the global economy itself is in a challenging environment. If you need only look at what's happening in Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, and Italy currently to see that this is not just an Africa problem. This is an international problem. However, what Ghana has to do is to take a very determined sense that we will be innovative and we will seize opportunities.
There's a new policy coming through the border targeting policy. The fear is that countries such as Ghana and other African nations might be affected some way, somehow, because of the phytosanitary regulations now coming through on that policy. Should African markets or perhaps Ghanaian products be worried that this new policy, which is coming into force, might, affect some of their trading routes?
No, it's a huge opportunity. And it's a huge opportunity because the changes that the UK is implementing with regards to the way its border operates is to make them digital, make them more seamless, but also to take a risk-based approach rather than a hazard-based approach. So a lot of products from Africa have faced a real challenge selling into the UK because of the hazards-based approach. By taking a risk-based approach, so by analysing the production, the area of production, the type of product, and the security and assurance that sits around those products, actually Ghana has the potential, by meeting standards, to get easier access into the UK.
The standards is the problem.
The standards are essential. Right. If you're not producing standards, you're not going to be able to sell your goods anywhere. The period whereby any nation is prepared to accept hazard into across their borders is gone. So if Ghana can get producers producing to the standards, and that's about education and training. It's something that the Institute takes to heart. Right. This is why we were founded in 1935. Right. So it's relatively simple to do. It takes some commitment.
A lower industrialized nation like Ghana, definitely there will be challenges packaging-wise and whatever considerations.
But there's help. There is help there. There is help and support. We're here to provide help and support. There are international agencies that are keen to help and support. And if you look at, I'm going to take a microcosm of the EU. Right now, through the weaponization of supply chains and trade routes, farmers in France are barricading their routes to prevent goods getting through. The same is happening in Germany, it's happening in Spain, it's happening in the Netherlands. So supply chains are disrupted. Ghana has the potential, with what the UK is doing with its target operating model, to achieve the standards of production and get their products into market better, quicker, and grow the potential. Also, if you can do that, you can start also to shift some of that processing back to Ghana and create the value add. Look, it's not simple. It sounds simple for me to sit here and say this, but do nothing and you will go backwards. That's the guarantee. Do nothing, you go backwards.
Well, at least we're trying something, and of course I'm happy that your institute is also coming through, your partnering, for instance, with the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. What programs are you running with them, and how will that perhaps help the situation for us to get out of the challenge?
Brilliant. So we're working with JEPA, the Ghana Export Promotions Agency, to support around capacity building, knowledge and expertise around customs and international trade. This is the bedrock of what the Institute does. We help professionalise international trade so that people understand how the systems work, what they.
You heard the president of the Institute of Export and International Trade, 4G, Marco 4G, who says that there are a lot of opportunities for Ghanaians if they actually follow the rules. I've been joined by Head of Diplomatic and Foreign Affairs Desk at JoyNews, Blessed Soga. So when did this regulation kick off, and what does it say?
Well, so that regulation is coming into force today because the document states that effective the 31st of January this year, the UK appears to be scaling up its regulations on customs and imports and exports as well. Now, there's a new regulation that's coming into force, primarily targeting exports into the EU market, and extensively the UK government would scale up its regulation on imports and exports generally. What we know is that starting from today, if you're bringing in any plant-based or animal, say livestock, into the UK market, what would happen is you need a certification from the United Kingdom based on some assessments and requirements that they will demand from any exporter around the world. Now, we know that Ghana is one of the key exporters into the UK market. What happens is we're highly dependent, as you know, on the export of cocoa, on the export of fruits and vegetables, especially into the UK markets. The estimated amount of value that we get from that is somewhere around 160 million United States dollars. So that's the figure that is at stake now, with many businesses and exporters of these primary produce into the UK market getting worried that now that the certification will be required, some processes may be delayed and eventually Ghanaian businesses may be affected as a result of the exercise.
We understand some stakeholders are engaging further on this. What exactly?
Precisely. So we've been doing our checks as well, trying as much as possible to engage with some of the main exporters into the European market. Because there's no clear line on the extent to which this might affect African exports, they are equally worried, and engagements, even as we speak, are continuing now between government officials, the private chambers, the exporters of farm produce here in Ghana, who are also worried and seeking further clarification from the UK government on whether or not this new regulation will apply to exports coming through from the likes of Ghana. Because if we're going by the stipulation, it means that for today, any export moving right now into the UK market is not qualified per what the law says to move into the UK market. So all of these produce, whether it's cassava, vegetables or fruits, they will be grounded. They would no longer be able to enter into the UK market. And that's why many people are raising concerns about it, seeking for clarifications. Once we get through to, the chambers working on these engagements, we'll definitely update our viewers on this.
Blessed Sogan with those details. I've been joined by Anthony Morrison, who's also with the Exports Association. Grateful for your time, Mr. Morrison. This certainly doesn't come as good news to you.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers. Well, we have been following this discussion. You remember somewhere last year, UK had challenges with tomatoes export, and we engaged them quite significantly on the areas to adopt. But quite frankly, you would also acknowledge the fact that the EU and the UK are not quite different in various times with regards to the imposition of some tax barriers and other things. We knew when the EU came up with the new law on the food of forest origin from Africa, we knew the UK was going to follow suit. And if you look at it, luckily for us, the chamber had been in engagement with the UK Animal Health Director, and we have been working with them. Last year, we did training for more than 70 people with support from the UK embassy. What we do know is that from our PPRSD, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ghana Standards Authority, they have also been taking some steps to make sure that they engage the UK authorities. But the point here is that already the cost of production is so high, and the cost of further documentations are going to be so expensive on the exporters. And we have also been, overly taxed with regards to the 5% taxes on export and various others. So we need to also, while engaging the UK government, we also need to engage our government, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Finance, to see how they can reduce some tax imposition on the agriculture sector, so that we don't overly increase our post-harvest losses, which is already so high. And we also have to look at how we can also support exports. The likes of Eisen needs to work actively with the industry. The likes of Gessel will also have to work actively with the industry to fast-track training and capacity building for various exporters, and also for the agriculture export farms that are currently producing for export. We need to look at what are the phytosanitary issues, what are the other areas of documentation and certification that ought. If you look at the UK new law, it's looking primarily at the IPAFS. So it also includes vegetables, it includes tubers that we export to the UK market. It also requires talk about timber and the likes. The reason why you see that the UK are giving some form of exemption to the EU imports is because they are all on the same standardization. And we also need to do a lot in order to increase our standard to be competitive, at least on the global market.
So, I mean, you've just explained the difficulty in this situation, but potentially we could be losing some $160 million. How do we avert this?
Well, for now, there is nothing we can do. We only need to also introduce trade barriers to also block some import of the same products that we are supposed to be exporting. So the local market can ignite around it and be able to offtake those commodities. However, we can also look at some of the processing sector who are doing a lot of post-harvest and value addition to be able to divert some of these exports to them. Now, within the West Africa sub-region and taking advantage of the AFTA and the PAPs, we can look at some African countries that also need some of these products. So we do not overly focus on the European Union market or the UK market, but we can look at Asia, we can look at the other African countries so that we can send these products, so that we do not also have to make losses at our end. This is very difficult time. You can also, for instance, those doing banana, those doing pineapple, they can't afford to look at long-term storage because of the tax position on electricity, for instance. Okay, there are also issues with emission taxes that we are already engaging government on. So we may need to also, and in fact, this will affect production for the next for this major season, because nobody will want to produce a lot for this major season, and we may have to come back around next year this time to be able to pick up from where we are, from where we dropped off last year, because we will be very strategic with our production, increase in production, or we may just reduce production all over.
Grateful for your time. Anthony Morrison is President and CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness, and has been explaining how the exporters will try and meet up with this UK standards. Now, the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboadame, says his office is working to reform the jury system to enhance the justice delivery system in the country. According to the AG, many criminal trials take a long time for judgment to be delivered because of how the jury system has been fashioned out in our laws. 12 accused persons were convicted for their roles in the murder of Major Mahama, while 2 were acquitted and discharged. Speaking during the visit of the family of Major Mahama, Godfrey Yeboadame says there are currently bills pending before Cabinet that seek to help reform the criminal justice system. Head of our legal affairs desk, Richard Kwejonyaku, was at the Attorney General's office and has come through with this report.
I knew it would kill me, so I avoided going on social media.
It was a visit that was to thank the Attorney General and the prosecution team for the good work they have done throughout the trial that spanned nearly 7 years. The meeting turned emotional as the mother of Major Mahama recounted what she's been through during the past 7 years.
The doctors abroad have been very good and have been there for me and taking good care of me. I was in and out of hospital, and I'd like to thank everybody, all Ghanaians, members of the foundation who worked tirelessly to keep my son's name alive and to preach or spread the message that there is mob justice isn't the way forward.
Attorney General Godfrey Yeboadame says the death of Major Mahama, though sad, has provoked some radical measures his office is taking to deal with mob justice, delays in prosecution of criminal cases, and the general reforms in the criminal justice system.
It has actually provoked an examination of the jury system for us to see whether there can be better means of going about justice delivery without the involvement of the jury. I personally think that the jury system ought to be eliminated. We're very fortunate in your case to have not so much difficulties with the verdict. Last year, another murder trial which had also shocked the nation, the murder of a former chairman of the MEP in the Upper East region, Adam Mahama. Yes, the verdict to the jury turned out to be quite incongruous. I mean, and really has led to a mistrial, and we conducted a first trial. But the jury returned the verdict in a way that clearly defied all reason. And so really there are serious or severe problems with the jury system in Ghana. I have before Cabinet a bill which seeks to reform the jury system to not make it compulsory in the case of murder as it is now, so that the Attorney General can recommend to the court the manner of trial to be adopted, whether it's by a jury system or not. And by and large, we'll be eliminating the jury system and all. We've also recommended the introduction of alternate jurors, so that if one juror is absent, as we saw a number of times in your case, the trial will not be held up. There can be alternate jurors who can substitute that juror, and the trial will not be held up. Remember your case, many times we've had to adjourn unnecessarily because of the absence of some jurors, either through unwellness or otherwise. Even on the day the verdict was delivered, we nearly suffered such a situation where one juror was late and we had to wait until about 2 hours before commencement of proceedings.
It is the hope of the AG's department that cases are prosecuted and dealt with expeditiously to dispense justice in the swiftest manner. Reporting from the AG's office, my name is Richard Kwejonyaku for JoyNews.
We're still live on JoyNews desk. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll be bringing you business.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the business segment on JoyNews desk with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has challenged the finance minister's claim that the economy has turned the corner. According to him, the country's debt remains unsustainable, as emphasized by the International Monetary Fund. The former president says figures churned out by the finance minister are deceptive. Nanaya Ojima reports.
At the Nat Hall in Koforidua, the NDC flag bearer held a meeting with some labor unions. Issues of the economy and strategies to revive it were key areas of interest. The former president, John Mahama, despite the debt exchange strategy adopted by government, says the country's debt remains unsustainable.
And I keep saying that the budget numbers this finance minister keeps showing us is deceptive. Because even as we sit today, in the budget that he read, he did not capture as part of his budget and the deficit the debts that we owe the independent power producers, which is almost $1.7 billion. And that alone is a single threat to the economy. Until we sort that out, we are not out of the woods yet. The finance minister said we've turned the corner, but we've not turned any corner. Just 2 days ago, the IMF came out and said Ghana's debt is still unsustainable. So it means that with all the haircuts and things we've done, our debt is still unsustainable. And so we're going to face major hurdles when we go forward. I believe that NDC has the men and women to sort out this economic mess.
Meanwhile, the NDC flag bearer says halt of debt servicing is the reason for sustainability of the cedi being witnessed.
This country currently is bankrupt, and that's the truth. Ghana is broke, and we've announced to the world that we cannot pay our debts. I mean, if you are an individual and you've taken debts from banks and microcredit institutions, and you declare that you can't pay, it means you are broke. And that's essentially what we have done. So currently, we've deferred debt servicing. We're not paying any loan, zero. We're not paying both our domestic and international debt. And that is probably why the cedi is even stable. Because if we were servicing our debt, by now the cedi will probably be at about 40 or 50 cedis to the dollar. And so we're not paying, but we're negotiating with the various creditors. They finished the domestic debt exchange, phase 1, phase 2, and they've deferred the payment of the bonds. A lot of the bonds will go into 2025, 2026, 2027, and stretch as far as 2032. And then they've just reached agreement with the official creditor committee, which is the bilateral creditors. And they are cutting off some of the debts, the rest they are pushing back. It doesn't mean we're not going to pay. We will pay, but they are deferring the payment. And then now they're going to discuss with the Eurobond credit holders, the commercial credit companies, and then also agree on how to shift back the debt payments. So essentially, we are broke.
The Ghana Institution of Engineering has bemoaned the hike in cement prices in recent times. According to the institution, this is affecting operations of some of its members. President of the institution, Engineer Kwabena Bimpong, has therefore called on manufacturers and other key stakeholders to find solutions to challenging culminating in the increase of cement production.
President for the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Engineer Kwabena Bimpong, recommended the use of affordable building materials, such as the use of bio-based materials like timber, bamboo, and improvement on non-renewable building materials such as green cement.
We need to look at various options in providing sustainable housing delivery, and these must be affordable. So we have looked at providing or using bio-based materials, and these include bamboo, which is a renewable resource, and we know that bamboo sequesters about 60% of carbon dioxide, and we also know that bamboo grows very, very fast, 1 meter a day. For all of us, we know that bamboo, we always think about bamboo as being for support or scaffolding. Very much so, because look, as I mentioned, 80% of our building materials are imported. And remember that the materials that are used in the production of cement are also imported. That is why I'm talking about the fact that if you are able to replace 20%, even 20%, if we are able to replace 20% and we are able to reduce the cement prices by some good percentage, I think that we'll all be happy. Because look, apart from water, cement or concrete is the most widely used material on earth.
The 52nd presidential address was under the theme Sustainable Housing Supply with Alternative Building Technologies.
That'll be all for business. I am Pius Kojobaka. The news continues after this break.
That's how we draw the curtains on JoyNews desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.